Again, I want to welcome you to this wonderful session of Coffee with Cleo. We have a fantastic guest, Dr. Jeneen Fields, and she is just full of experience and full of insights on leadership, as well as her journey as being, again, the only, I would say, the first African American woman in a nation to receive a PhD in plant breeding and genetics. So, Jeneen, it's wonderful to have you. And this is something else I want people to know.
Thank you.
And I have to read this. This is noted. Dr. Fields has been recognized for research as a winner of 2 National Research Awards and fully funded research grant. Now, those in the business will really understand how audacious that accomplishment is. She's also the honor recipient of the 2019 Purdue Real World Experience Award for Diligence and Creative Leadership of Women in the Agriculture course. So those are some noted accomplishments. And I'm sure that you can share some of the drivers to that, because the next question is this: can you describe your leadership philosophy and some of the things that have helped shape your perspective when it comes to
Yeah, I can definitely share my leadership philosophy. When I think about leadership, one of the things that I always think about is the fact that, first of all, anyone can lead. I've had opportunities, as I said, to share and go to different places in the world. And one of my students had a reflection this past winter when we went. She was a freshman and she was the only freshman on the trip. And she realized that, gosh, all of these upperclassmen are around me, but I can actually lead and share some of my insights. And so one of the key things that I say is, number one, you don't have to have a title or a position to be a leader. And you can lead from where you are. You can share what it is that you know. You can be open to learning and growing. And I think as a leader, that's one of the critical parts, that you give what you have, but you keep yourself open to being able to learn more and explore more and see more. Also, when I mention philosophy, one of the things that, again, you'll hear me mention my family quite a bit, but I had the most awesome grandmother growing up. But one of the things that I observed about my grandmother was she treated everybody with love and respect. And I learned that from her. It didn't matter if it was the CEO of a company or the janitor in the building. She treated people with the same love and respect. And I appreciate learning that from her. And I've always carried that kind of mentality with me wherever I go. And so as a leader, I do that, but I also expect that of the people that I'm around and involved with. That respect element is so critically important. And I also think that, there are some key things that oftentimes as leaders, we don't like to talk about. One of them is love. And that's one of the few languages that everybody in the world understands. So there have been situations where you may have come into contact with people and it wasn't so lovely. Maybe they weren't very open. But one of the things I found is that if you lead with love and you care for people, it's very rare that they can resist that. And you wind up bringing the team together no matter what. So that's kind of what I think about when I think about leadership. And as a woman, a lot of times we're told, oh, you've got to be strong, you've got to be firm.
it?
Well, I do it all. I'm firm, but I also am a very caring person, and I let people know that I care about them. And that's sort of worked for me. Again, I'm continuing to grow and develop as a leader, but there's some key things that I feel I learned early on in my life that really helped me to continue to progress, and I'll keep on growing as we go.
Wonderful sage counsel and advice that anyone can adhere to and
Thank you.
related to this perspective that you're sharing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure with your global travels has expanded your horizon as well as your view on life, and then you applied it back to your business. And so,
Mhm.
can you share with the audience some of the things that you've acquired that has helped shape your leadership perspective or life perspective from your global travels as well?
Oh, absolutely. I would say from my global travels, I realized that the world is so huge. And a lot of times people have a perspective of just their little microcosm of the world. When you're able to travel out of that, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
We talk about just from neighborhood to different neighborhoods to country and then to global, you realize that, like I said, the world is so big, but there's so much to discover. One of the wonderful things, say for instance, when we traveled to Peru, the beautiful thing about being able to explore agriculture in that particular country is that there are 75 microclimates, meaning 75 different types of climates that things can grow in. So they grow everything. There are vegetables that we've never seen, fruit that we've never heard of. And so as you travel around the world, you really get a perspective of that. One of the interesting things that I just got finished teaching a section of genetics to my class, and most people don't realize when you talk about Mendelian genetics,
Yes.
I always talk about dominant and recessive genes. Well, the recessive color is green in the Mendel's peas. The yellow is dominant. Have you ever asked yourself, why are all of our peas green? Our peas in this country are green because someone decided we needed to eat green peas. But when you go into other parts of the world, most of them eat yellow peas.
Yes.
So that little perspective that we have totally is transformed, but it's part of genetics we see every day, and we don't even notice it. It's a invaluable experience going outside of this country and being able to meet people from different cultures and just continue to expand your world as a person.
You know, you just shared a lot of different things, and I think it's a great perspective. As you talk about corn and the color of corn in South America, of course, in Mexico, versus the yellow corn versus the white corn or maize.
Yes.
I need to relate to what you're talking about in a lot of respects.
Yes.
Well, question for you.
Mhm.
I'd like to know, with a lot of the investment in bringing awareness around STEM, specifically to open up awareness and avenues and pathways for young minorities, as well as women, to pursue the field that you're in, or anything in science. What are some of the things that you would basically share with someone who's interested in pursuing a field in agriculture or as a research scientist like yourself? I mean, you being the first, we have to have more behind you. So what are some of the things that you would like to share with those young, aspiring minority, female leaders that are looking to be in your position?
Well, one of the things I think we often don't teach is history. If we begin to look back at history, and if we even travel back to our indigenous area of the world in Africa, we recognize the valuable work and explorations that and even I would say equipment or scientific calculations that we've come up with historically as a people. Somehow in our transitioning to another part of this world and coming to America, we got completely disconnected from that. But in addition, we somehow thought we can't do it.
Right.
So what you find is a lot of times, a lot of children are afraid of math. Whoever told you math was hard? I even had to look at times, reframing how I addressed or called things when I was a teacher. Like we say a math problem. Why is it a math problem? Why couldn't it be a math challenge?
Yes.
All of that makes a difference when you're trying to present different ideas and even STEM to students. And so one, we have to begin to look at our language, but the second, and look at history. The second part is to really allow them to get involved and provide experiences. I am definitely a person that encourages people to understand how they learn. You have visual learners, you have auditory learners, you have tactile learners. And so as a person, you have to encourage young people to know how they learn and to really delve into making sure they give an effort to, take in information the way that they learn it. An example being that if you're a young person and you like visual things, then of course you like videos and presentations. However, there are some young people that are auditory learners. So I encourage them to do things like audio tape. You all have cell phones now. So go ahead and audio tape your notes, and then you can listen to them while you're bopping down the street. There are different things that you can do, but as far as young people, I think the earlier you expose them to any career field, we look at finances, we look at agriculture, we look at business. The earlier we expose them to it, the less fear they have about it. If you already know how to handle finances at fourth grade, then you won't get scared of it when it's time to go to college and you get a credit card because you've been exposed to it. So you will always hear me pushing exposure, exposure, exposure. I think that is the key to eliminating so many barriers as we talk about learning and growing. Ooh, excuse me. Not sure what happened. As we talk about learning.
Fantastic. We talk about the repetitiveness of exposure and making people aware of the things that, at an early age, the things that, the potential of learning, and there's no limit. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
When you're younger and you're in your youth, there's not a lot of presumption and
Yeah.
predisposition. So when you start with as an empty vessel, much can go into that vessel. And so
Absolutely.
it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I want to welcome again the audience, and we're speaking with Dr. Jeneen Fields, of course, and Purdue University research scientist. And this has been an enjoyable conversation. We have more to come.